Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 4 now. So, episode 3 was very interesting. I appreciate all the feedback I got at this time and that fact that you guys want to continue to keep watching this. And, really, I really appreciate the support. Um, for this episode, I believe we'll be working on some of our resources, particularly our iron, because our sorting system from last episode took a lot of my iron. And, I've been trying to slowly recover it from mining and stuff, but I do want to create an iron farm like we did in the last series. Um, and so, yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense to um, bring that back and to continue to work on that. So yeah, without further ado.
All right, so we finally finished the mechanics part of this farm. It was definitely a lot bigger than I had initially intended it to be. It took up a lot of square footage. I think it's definitely was taller than I thought it would be. The challenge, I think, in our next part is trying to hide all this. Um, but I mean, functionally, it works. I took quite a bit of time putting those villagers in. There are 5 zombies in this farm. Traditionally, you only need 4. I added a 5th one because of my own design on the top, which I will show you in a second. Um, but yeah, it's pretty efficient. I mean, I haven't finished adding the sorting system for it yet because I want to sort out all the other stuff and then keep the iron, obviously, because I don't really need roses and stuff like that. But so yeah, let's go check it out. Okay, so first off, yeah, so they initially will spawn up there and they will slowly try to chase after the zombie that's up in that little corner up there, and then will fall down into this pit where they will get a little toasty by this lava. And then the iron will then go into this spot, which you can see we've already got 2 stacks already. So, I mean, that's pretty good. And I just finished it. So it's definitely pretty good. But so yeah, let me go fly up there and see what it looks like on top. So let's see here. Okay, so yeah, so pretty much there's 3 villagers, and they're supposed to get freaked out, although recently they haven't really been that scared. Not sure why, but I'll continue to work on that. But the idea is that there's this one zombie here that scares them, and they seem to work better at night, actually, oddly enough, because then they try to fall asleep and then wake up and freak out. But yeah, so during the daytime it's pretty stale, I feel like. But any case, so yeah, so there's the zombie here that moves around, scares these guys to where they'll spawn a golem to defend themselves. And hopefully they spawn it in this area here. And the idea is that the golem will spawn here and then we'll see this zombie up here. There you go. See, 3 just spawned right now. So now they're looking at this zombie because they want to try to kill it. And so the idea is that they're going to try to slowly walk towards it. And then when they get closer, they will eventually fall in the pit. Let's see if they do that. Maybe. I haven't actually tested this part of the mechanism yet because I did change it. But let's see. Ouch. That kind of... Okay, interesting. That wasn't quite what I was expecting to have happen. Because they're kind of... There we go. Okay, it maybe needed a little bit of help. They would have fallen down eventually. So yeah, so they fall down into here. And so the idea is that they... Oh, maybe it's this block. Oh, maybe I gotta fix that block. Okay. But the idea is that they'll spawn in here and then fall down this pit very slowly. And the thing is with trapdoors is they think it's a full block, so they'll walk on it, but then they'll fall through it. And this concept can work for the same gunpowder farm that we did in the last series. And so pretty much, yeah, they'll spawn in any of these spots and they'll chase after this zombie, which I lovingly added a dragon head to and a shovel. Yep, see, there's this guy. So yeah, and then sometimes they'll chase after it like this guy, and then yeah, there you go, fall right in. So it's really efficient, and you can make this as big as you want if you do this tactic here within a certain radius. I forget the exact number off the top of my head by how far the villagers will spawn golems, but it's pretty far. I think it's like 50 blocks. This one I think is a little bit. I think it's somewhere in between 25 and 30 blocks. So it's probably like 27 by 27. Because I didn't want to go the full 50. One, I don't need it. Two, it takes up too much space. And so this is already pretty big enough as it is. But yeah, I need to do a little bit of fixing on this farm. But the general premise is it does still work. And so yeah, they'll chase after the zombie, fall down there, get cooked, and then yeah, I'll have some sweet iron. So it's pretty straightforward actually. It's not too complicated. the challenging part is obviously getting the um, number of villagers, and then having them up here. I did it during nighttime, especially the zombies, because they burn during the day. And then you also want to protect both your villagers and the zombies so that lightning doesn't strike it or anything like that. So, or fire or anything like that. But yeah, no, I don't know particularly why this farm works better at night. I think it's just because they're sleeping, and then they get freaked out, and then I think during the daytime they don't spawn as much. Which I mean is totally fine, because nighttime in this game lasts a long time, and I don't need an absolute ton of iron. Um, but so yeah, so that's pretty much how this system works. Um, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward if you guys want to follow along at home. But I think the next part of my goals are to actually, and there's a lot of zombies now that I built this thing for some reason. Um, but I think the next part of what I want to do is to try to, actually make my build around this. So like decorate it, and make the actual um, not look like just the mechanics of this. I want to actually like hide a lot of this. And so I've come up with an idea for that. And I was thinking, and I'm loosely modeling it off of a place I've actually been to and will be going to again soon in the next few weeks. Um, but the idea is that it's gonna be kind of look like a sugar mill that I went to a while back. And I thought about making it look like a foundry, but I felt that that would be not super realistic for the setting, especially since we're in a jungle. And I felt, a sugar mill, a real life sugar mill, would kind of reflect this, especially the one that I went to. Um, and if we make it ornate enough, you'll never know this was an iron farm. And I've tested this out in a creative build world, and it seems pretty spawn proof. I think because I purposely picked materials that golems can't spawn on, like half slabs and whatnot. Um, but so yeah, I think without further ado, let's begin.
All right. So we partially finished building this. Yeah, we did quite a lot of things, um, and so we at least we encased it in the building. This was much larger and much more complex than I had originally planned in the test build, actually, because it was about twice as small as this building is, and it was about also twice as short. So the height definitely was something I had to factor in with the new farm that we proposed, because I think I had it about like 25 blocks. This one's 40, as I mentioned earlier. So it kind of went insane. Um, and I'm not. I don't feel like I'm done yet, and we'll get to that in a bit. In a minute, but I just want to first go over some of my ideas and just some of the different forms that I picked. Um, okay, so first off, yeah, I hope you guys like where it's going so far. I think it's okay. I think there's some it's promising. Um, I think one of the things that I was thinking about just now was how the brick kind of stands out a little bit and a little bit too much for my liking. So I might play around with the color palette. I was at first a little hesitant to do the granite, but it's okay actually. I'm not against it. I think um, maybe I probably would do more like what you see up there, where you see more the less sort of brick and you just see more copper. And I think for this part here, I might change the palette and get rid of some of the brick and just start doing more copper the further up you go. Because the reason why I added different tonal colors like brick and granite and stuff like that is partially due to lighting, um, and then also partially due to aging. So if you ever look at a building, you'll see that is, and so some of these things we can control in buildings, and some of them we can't, or at least we can sort of predict how it's going to be. Lighting, I feel like, is generally pretty predictable, but I think even lighting can be a bit, interesting. Like there's certain corners and areas that get lighting that we don't anticipate on getting lighting unless we like run some crazy digital software to figure it out. But anyways, so I think that's kind of what I'm trying to play off of, is that that's happening. And then with aging, that's even less predictable. Or I feel like you get buildings that are that age in certain areas that are either more exposed to the weather or experience more climate related issues or who knows what. But and so I'm trying to simulate that in my buildings. You may notice that of late is that some of them have kind of look more weathered and have some more texture to it. And that's not just to make it look interesting, it's to make it look realistic. Um, but so, anyway, so yeah, this was very loosely inspired off of a building I went to recently, actually. Um, and so I sort of took this kind of to another level with this build, and I really like the green. That was a really nice combo mixed with this palette here. I think this texture pack is also extremely challenging to do this kind of tannal color, because there's not a whole lot of variety in that. I only have like 2 or 3 blocks I can work with. But in any case, so I decided at least to add some kind of window-like things, and this is something I've done in the past, and I kind of continue to do actually, is I add like hanging signs, but I don't place the hanging signs down um, like this where you can just see the chain. I actually place it so you can like fully see. Hang on. So you can actually really see the yeah, there we go. So you can see kind of the whole post going along here because it creates some more depth. Oh, look, a skeleton's helping me out. And I feel like that's makes it more interesting. But so yeah, let's see. Let's fly around, see where we can, what needs, what we're working on, and what kind of is continuing to is pretty close to being done, anyways. So yeah. So anyway, so this was I kind of this is sort of a at least for the sugar mill I was inspired off of. They had this sort of tower. It was not nearly as big as this, um, but it's the idea is that I think a lot of the sugar gets stored in there, and then I thought just for fun of it, I'd added another chimney to the back. which I keep going back to the drawing board once or twice with this thing until I got something that I liked. Um, to where it's like this. I like this green texture. I feel like that makes sense because it's like sticking out above the roof, and then like having this kind of stick above that. Um, and then here I just added this little like cover thing to hide the zombie in there. But yeah, so I think yeah, and I played around with like roof depths. So like some of the roofs were like longer, and then some of it was like more kind of more factory like, and following this specific pattern. Oops, I don't think I need to. I think I ran out of honeycomb on those. Yeah. But so yeah, that's and so this is the more finished side. This is probably what it'll look like. Is I want to add some depth. Going forward, I think adding these things, little trapdoors, makes sense. And then I later in the later came back and thought, well, why don't I add like some fences to it? That adds some kind of more depth to it. So I'm going to continue to do that, probably off camera, because it takes a while, and I don't necessarily need to film that. Um, I think maybe you might see it kind of poke through here and there, but mainly I'll just add it to this area here. Um, and then with this is I added these like that, and I'm scratching my head on this one because it would mean I'd have to move the road over one, which means I have to take out this whole thing here and bump this road out. And I'm really hesitant to do that because I spent so long trying to get this road all nice and pretty, and I really like how it's organized. Um, that might end up having to go. To be honest, I built this thing way closer than I thought I would to the road. Like I thought I'd have so much more space than this. Um, and so yeah, so a lot of things didn't really go quite as planned originally, but like I said, I think it has a lot of potential. I like how it's going. I think it's very monumental. A little more monumental than I'd hoped. I was kind of hoping it kind of not be so dominating on the hillside, but I think it works. I think it's like I said, it's got potential. But I think the next big thing is to actually fix a lot of the terrain and make this look more overgrown, because the idea with this was that I put it so close to this hill here is that like no way in heck would somebody operate a plant like this that's about to fall off the cliff. Like that's just not realistic. um and like it's just dangerous, like. And so I think the idea with this is it's like nature has kind of come back and sort of eroded this building and taken it over. um and so that's what I want to kind of portray in this, and I haven't done that yet. And so I think that's what I'll probably do next, is that I'll shore up this hillside, make it look kind of more eroded, because right now it's floating, and that's not really what I want to do. I want it to harmonize with the rest of my builds, and also change this area here to be more like that, because it's been bothering me for a while. I've been wanting to do that, haven't gotten around to doing it. um there's an angry spider, let's see. um but so yeah, I think just kind of yeah, changing this land. Yeah, angry spider, sorry. But so yeah, I think we'll add some landscape, do some topography changes, especially at the back here. Let's see what that looks like. It's not super I'm not in love with it, especially that. Because when I filled that with like dirt and stuff, I fully intended on it like me expanding this hill up that way. Challenges is, like I said earlier, it's like right next to the cliff, and so it's like, yeah, I was definitely running out of room when making this, which is fine. But I think yeah, it needs some help there to like have the hill kind of more come up, and then also have it match the rest of the land. And then this back part here, I'm going to actually leave it for the next build. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I already have a pretty good plan for this space here. And I want it to kind of connect with this building here on purpose. So I feel like if I started like filling in the topography, it would actually, for one, spoil the next video. Two, I would have to remove it if I just followed what I was going to do down there. That wouldn't be as interesting. Um, and I don't want to have to go back on my work. Like that's not fun. Um, but yeah. So I think without further ado, I will start terraforming this area, making it look better, and maybe making it more harmonized with the land. And then also reducing some of the monumentality of this build because it's very tall, and I want to create some depth, create um, some plants, kind of really hide a lot of the height of it in a way. Like I think that would be a good sort of method of reducing its monumentality. But so yeah, without further ado, let's begin.
So, all right. So, yeah, we finally finished all the landscaping. I spent probably more time on the landscaping than I did the actual original build. Um, yeah, it was a little crazy, and I went a little bit overboard, but I really like how it turned out. I mean, it's awesome. So why don't I go through it a little bit, and then also some of the minor changes I made to this building off camera. So yeah, so I decided to kind of make these sort of, I don't know what you'd call them, like these like very elongated posts, kind of breaking formation. I don't know. It adds some character to the side of the building. Then also use some signs and some trapdoors, adding some depth to that. That made it really interesting. I'm gonna fill this in eventually because we have all these chests in front of it. So it's not, in future I probably won't put them there. That seemed like a mistake. Like I maybe should have put them, in the whatever you call it, the road. So yeah, and I added this garage door because I thought it looks more realistic. But so yeah, so let's go to the landscape side of it. So this part here, I wanted to indicate that at one point this road was accessible, and that over time it's kind of eroded and sort of fallen in disrepair, and then eventually just kind of falls off the hillside. I think at some point it'd be nice to create some sort of barrier, being like "do not cross" or something like that. But anyway, so it looks like it's been misused and not often taken care of. That's why you have like plants and stuff growing over it. And then I added these plants that are kind of growing oddly that kind of hide, like I said earlier, the monumentality of the building. And then yeah, if we go around here, so yeah, so there's more of that road. So clearly it used to connect up, and then it kind of fell down and eroded and stuff like that. And so it used to connect up probably and wrapped around here. And then we have these two tanks back here for, I don't know, like water or fuel or something like that. In any case, so yeah, there's that, and then added some more plants on this side here. Really supposed to give the overgrown look, like it's not been taken care of at all, which is the point of this build, is that it's supposed to look very worn out. But my favorite part by far is down here. And so I added this little kind of, little bit of a berm up here to add some more realism. And then, I got rid of this water stream here that was blocking it, and then let it kind of continue down onwards, which looks really cool from far away. Let's see if I can fly out. Yeah, so it looks like a very like little sliver in there, and that the water is kind of eroded this little passageway. One of the things I do want to do in the future, and I didn't have time during this build, and we'll see how it comes out, is kind of create this sort of steam or water sort of in the air effect that you see at waterfalls, where there's like clouds and stuff like that. And so I think that would be kind of interesting. Maybe also add some redstone, make it kind of this sort of movement-based waterfall, or simulating the movement of it. But I don't know. We'll see what I come up with later on. But I don't think that's something I want to have time for. Um, and two, it's not essential. I think it does look interesting as is, because there's kind of a peacefulness to it when you think about it. But so anyway, so yeah, I created this like little lake here, which I will fill with some plants that I have. I do have some kelp and some other stuff like that, to make it look a little bit more realistic rather than just, or it could just be a big blue pool. Like I've been to places in real life that were like that, where they didn't have like any algae or anything at the bottom of it. It was pretty much just this like clear, serene blue water, which could be a possibility. Like, so yeah. And then I think another thing we'll see what about this, as I wanted to show a little bit of a cave, going on, which, or at least where you can sort of see and simulate a cave. So like there's all this like glass back here, and so it looks like really dark and stuff. But I don't know. I think the texture of the glass kind of stands out. So I'm gonna play with different glass types to see what works and see what can hide it. But let's see. Let's go back up here. So we'll actually. Okay, so yeah, so and then really what was cool is creating this big sort of texture theme where I started with blackstone and went to mud and deep slate and all the other different materials that you see here. And so it really creates this cool texture variant, and I think it's also realistic too, because in a volcanic area or in an area that sees lots of at least in that kind of setting, is that you see lots of layers of different sediments. And if any of you guys have taken geology courses or things like that, they'll tell you about that, how there's different layers and how sometimes some of it can be exposed by weathering and stuff like that. So I'm trying to create that effect, a little bit of realism there, which I think looks amazing. Also, it creates some depth too, because you have like the darker kind of stuff towards the bottom where it sort of shades it. When you go up to the top, it gets kind of more lighter, I guess. So, like the newer sediments. But in any case, so I kind of created this sort of area here, which I think is my personal favorite. Originally, I had planned on having all these reeds here be like sugarcane, kind of in homage to the factory, being like this is like the leftover working fields and stuff like that. But I actually decided that it makes more sense that it looks more like cattails and more like reeds and like I was saying earlier. And I think that seems more realistic because in a waterway like this you would have lots of reeds, you would have a changing climate, which is what I'm trying to symbolize. Is the reason why these trees are a lot shorter, why they look a lot newer, is because I'm trying to simulate a transition into these more plains that we see around us. So making it less forest-like, which again is realistic in its own way. And so you'll see some holes in there, which it's sometimes I missed some, and then I've noticed a lot of Endermen have actually been stealing the blocks, which is kind of annoying. So kind of created this sort of feeling here, and I didn't completely finish it all the way because it was a lot of work trying to like texturize all this stuff. And so I pretty much just built it up to about here and then stopped. And then and then same with this side, is I didn't finish it all the way. I just wanted it to be this like little cove of interesting plants and varieties. But I did finish this part down here. And again, we probably have to complete the area over here, but I think it simulates what I'm looking for, where the water actually goes down into the river here. And so that at least has some realism. But I mean, this would be such a cool area to like swim in and fish and stuff like that. It looks so cool. I love how this like little cove turned out. And I didn't quite finish this either. But anyways, so then kind of connected it up with the road and then continued the road down. I think we'll do one more loop and then call it a day on this thing because it's kind of insane. And then didn't finish off that either. But I spent so much time on planting and all this stuff in the front and things like that. And I like how it turned out, but I'm on a time budget here because, there's a couple of reasons. And we've spent so much time as it is on this. Like, I think it was close to like 10 hours of recording that should be dumbed down to like, I don't know, like 10 minutes, maybe less. But we'll see. So, of just the landscape, by the way, not of the building. I think, I really like how this came out. Let's see if I can fly up here. I'm going to show some more of it. So I added the chimneys here, which I don't think I featured. Adding some more realism. Had like a real like a animated chimney, and then these kind of static ones here. And again, signs and stuff like that, but little details, they make difference, they add depth. And so I do recommend that, in your builds if you end up going to that level. I think, this turned out really well. So I have to get this edited and uploaded because I'm actually leaving the country in a few days. So and I'll be gone for a few months. So don't expect any recent videos. I know I'm typically pretty slow at uploading stuff, and that's because I have a real life, and pretty busy as is. So I'll try to get this out before I go. But so yeah, thank you for watching. Appreciate the support and the feedback. And I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.